Some things in life change everything. A single idea, a new way of thinking, a shift in philosophy. It can turn an ordinary existence into something extraordinary. It's not always about massive leaps or dramatic moments. Sometimes it's one understanding that opens up a world of possibilities. One insight that makes everything clear. One realization that transforms your approach to success, to discipline, to wealth, and to personal growth. When I first understood this, everything changed. The way I viewed work changed. The way I set goals changed. The way I thought about challenges, setbacks, and the daily grind. It all shifted. And in that shift, my results changed. My progress accelerated. My life took a different direction. And it wasn't because of luck. It wasn't because of talent. It was because of a new philosophy that became the foundation of everything I did. Most people go through life with a limited understanding of how things work. They rely on habits, they follow routines, they do what they've always done, hoping for different results. But there's a deeper way to think, a way that separates those who achieve at the highest level from those who stay stuck. It's not about working harder. It's not about chasing more. It's about understanding the principles that govern success and applying them with discipline and consistency. When you get this, when you really understand it, you stop making excuses. You stop waiting for the right time. You stop hoping things will change on their own. You take full ownership of your life, your results, and your future. This philosophy is not complicated. It's not mysterious. It's not something only a select few can grasp. It's straightforward. It's practical. And it's available to anyone willing to think differently and act decisively. But most people never get it. They never take the time to question their beliefs, to challenge their assumptions, to examine the way they think about work, money, success, and failure. They stay locked in the same patterns, repeating the same mistakes, wondering why nothing changes. And the truth is, the moment you shift your thinking, the moment you see things the way they really are, is the moment your entire life can change. I didn't get this overnight. I didn't wake up one day and suddenly understand everything. It took time. It took struggle. It took moments of frustration and confusion before a clear picture emerged. But once it did, there was no going back. Once I understood how success works, how discipline works, how personal growth works, I couldn't unsee it. I couldn't pretend I didn't know. And that's when the real work began. Because knowing is one thing. Applying what you know is another. And that's where most people fail. They understand concepts, they hear ideas, but they don't integrate them into their daily life. They don't turn knowledge into action. And that's why they stay stuck. The key to this philosophy is taking full responsibility, not just for your actions, but for your results. Not just for the things you control, but for everything that happens in your life. Most people resist this. They want to believe that circumstances are to blame. They want to believe that luck is against them. They want to believe that success is for other people, not for them. But the moment you accept total responsibility, the moment you realize that everything in your life is a result of the decisions you've made, you gain power. You gain control. You gain the ability to change anything. And that's the breakthrough. That's the shift that changes everything. When I understood this, I stopped blaming my past. I stopped blaming my upbringing. I stopped looking for reasons why I couldn't succeed. I realized that no matter where I started, no matter what obstacles I faced, I was the one in charge of my future. And if I was in charge, then I could change anything. I could change my habits. I could change my discipline. I could change the way I thought about money, about work, about success. I could change everything. But that required a decision, a commitment to stop playing the victim and start playing the creator, a commitment to take responsibility for every outcome, good or bad. This is not about blame. It's not about guilt. It's about power. The power that comes from knowing that you are the one who shapes your life. The power that comes from knowing that your habits, your choices, and your discipline determine your results. And once you accept that power, you stop waiting for things to change. You stop hoping for a break. You stop wishing things were different. You make them different. You decide that from this moment forward, you are in control. And that decision changes everything. Here's what most people miss. Success is not about what you have. It's not about where you were born. It's not about external advantages. It's about what you do with what you have. It's about how you think, how you act, how you show up every single day. And if you understand that, if you internalize that, you stop looking for excuses. You stop waiting for conditions to be perfect. You realize that your life is a reflection of your choices. And if you want something different, you have to start making different choices. The people who win in life are not the ones who had it easy. They're not the ones who never faced struggle. They're the ones who decided, regardless of their circumstances, that they were going to figure it out. They were going to rise. They were going to succeed. And they weren't going to make excuses. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait for luck. They didn't wait for the right conditions. They took full ownership. And because of that, they took full control. And that's the choice you have to make. When I adopted this philosophy, I stopped focusing on what I didn't have. I stopped worrying about what was unfair. I stopped complaining about the things I couldn't control. And I started asking a different question. What can I do right now to change my situation? What action can I take today that will move me forward? What habit can I build that will create a better future? That's the mindset shift. That's the question that separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck. Most people never ask that question. They get caught up in frustration. They get caught up in doubt. They focus on problems instead of solutions. And because of that, they stay in the same cycle year after year, wondering why nothing changes. But when you start asking, what can I do right now? You put yourself in a position of power. You stop waiting. You stop wishing. You take action. And action is what creates results. This is why most people fail to grow. They never shift their thinking from why me to what now. They never stop dwelling on what's missing and start focusing on what they can build. They never realize that their future is not determined by their past, but by what they choose to do today. And that's the breakthrough. That's the understanding that changes everything. The moment I shifted my thinking, my life changed. My results changed. My discipline improved. My habits got stronger. My focus increased. I stopped seeing challenges as roadblocks and started seeing them as opportunities. I stopped seeing failures as the end and started seeing them as lessons. I stopped waiting for things to get easier and started getting better. And that's the decision you have to make. This philosophy works if you work it. It's not enough to understand it. It's not enough to agree with it. You have to live it. You have to apply it every single day. You have to wake up with the mindset that everything in your life is in your hands. Your success, your progress, your growth. And if it's not where you want it to be, you have the power to change it. And when you live that way, when you operate from that mindset, you become unstoppable. So here's the challenge. Are you ready to take full ownership? Are you ready to stop waiting? Are you ready to stop looking for reasons and start creating results? Because if you are, if you make that commitment, if you decide right now that you're in control, then everything changes. And once you see it, once you live it, once you experience the power of this philosophy, there's no going back. This is not about motivation. It's not about hype. It's about a fundamental truth that governs success. It's about a way of thinking that once adopted will reshape your entire life. It's about understanding that the quality of your life is directly tied to the quality of your decisions. And if you improve your decisions, you improve your life. And that's the key. That's the foundation. That's the philosophy that, once understood, changes everything. The way you think about time changes. The way you approach work changes. The way you see obstacles, setbacks, and challenges. Everything shifts. You stop wasting time. You stop procrastinating. You take action when others hesitate. And that's what makes the difference. Most people go through life never realizing that a single idea can change everything. One shift in understanding, one new way of looking at the world can transform your results, your relationships, your income, and your future. It's not about luck. It's not about talent. It's about the fundamental philosophies you choose to live by. Once I understood this, my entire life changed. The way I approached work, success, failure, and even the people around me, it all shifted. I remember a time when I was struggling. I was working hard, but nothing was coming together. I thought success was about working longer hours, doing more of the same, pushing harder. I thought if I just tried a little bit more, if I just put in a few extra hours, everything would fall into place. But it didn't. I was exhausted, frustrated, and no closer to the life I wanted. That's when I discovered something that turned my entire mindset upside down. It wasn't about doing more. It was about doing things differently. Most people never grasp this. They keep repeating the same patterns, expecting different results. They work hard, but they work hard in the same old way. They struggle, but they struggle in the same old patterns. They wonder why life isn't changing, why things aren't getting better, why they feel stuck. It's not about effort. It's about understanding. It's about the principles you operate by. It's about the philosophy that drives your decisions. Once I understood the difference between working hard and working smart, everything shifted. I stopped blaming circumstances. I stopped believing that I was at the mercy of my environment. I stopped waiting for things to change on their own. I took responsibility for my results, not just my effort, but the way I was thinking about my life, my goals, my future. That's when I realized that success is not something you get by accident. It's not something you hope will happen. It's something you create on purpose. Most people live by default. They react to life instead of creating it. They let circumstances dictate their path. They let fear, doubt, and uncertainty make their decisions for them. They tell themselves stories about why they can't succeed, why they're stuck, why things never work out. But those are just stories. And the moment you decide to change the story, you change the outcome. The moment I shifted from being a victim of my circumstances to being the creator of my future, everything changed. I stopped waiting for the right opportunity. I stopped hoping things would get better. I stopped looking for excuses. I started looking for answers. I started asking, how can I make this work? How can I turn this around? How can I change my life, not tomorrow, but today? That's the mindset that separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck. It's not intelligence. It's not background. It's not even luck. It's the willingness to take control. The willingness to decide that no matter what has happened up to this point, the future is mine to create. The moment I made that decision, I stopped struggling. I started winning. Most people don't realize how much power they have. They think their future is determined by their past. They think their success is limited by their current circumstances. They think they're stuck because of things outside their control. But that's a lie. Your future is determined by the choices you make. Your success is limited only by the beliefs you hold. And you are never, ever stuck unless you decide to stay that way. That's the truth I discovered. That's the philosophy that changed everything for me. The moment I took full responsibility for my life, my actions, my decisions, my results, the moment I stopped looking for reasons and started looking for solutions, everything shifted, and it can shift for you too. But you have to be willing to let go of the old story. You have to be willing to stop playing the victim. You have to be willing to take control. Most people are afraid to do that. They're afraid to let go of the excuses. They're afraid to stop blaming their past. They're afraid of what might happen if they actually took full responsibility. But here's the truth. Nothing changes until you do. Nothing gets better until you decide to make it better. Nothing shifts in your life until you shift the way you think about it. That's the key. It's not about working harder. It's not about trying more things. It's not about doing more of what hasn't worked in the past. It's about changing the way you think, changing the way you approach every day, changing the philosophy that drives your actions. Because once you change the way you think, the results will follow. That's what happened for me. I went from struggling to thriving, not because I started working harder, but because I started thinking differently. I stopped seeing life as something happening to me, and I started seeing it as something I was creating. I stopped waiting for success, and I started demanding it from myself. That's the shift. That's the difference. That's the moment everything changes. And once you understand it, once you commit to it, once you make it the foundation of your life, there's no limit to what you can achieve. This philosophy isn't complicated. It's not something you need a degree to understand. It's not something only a few special people can grasp. It's simple, and that's why most people resist it. They want success to be complicated. They want life to be predictable. They want a step-by-step process that guarantees results. But the truth is, success is simple. It's just not easy. Most people want the results without the responsibility. They want the rewards without the discipline. They want the success without the struggle. But that's not how life works. You don't get what you want. You get what you earn. You get what you create. You get what you're willing to build day after day, decision after decision, until the results show up. That's the truth I had to accept. That's the reality I had to face. I couldn't keep blaming my past. I couldn't keep waiting for things to change. I couldn't keep hoping for luck to show up. I had to take control. I had to decide that from this moment forward, I would no longer be a victim of my circumstances. I would be the creator of my future. Once I made that decision, everything else fell into place. I stopped wasting time. I stopped wondering why I wasn't successful. I stopped looking for shortcuts. I accepted that the process would be hard, but that hard work would pay off. I accepted that I would face challenges, but that those challenges were developing me. I accepted that my success was my responsibility. And with that acceptance came power. Power to change my habits, power to change my thinking, power to change my results, power to control my future instead of letting it control me. Most people never step into that power. They live their whole lives waiting for something to happen. They live their whole lives hoping for a break. They live their whole lives believing that if they just work hard enough, someday things will magically get better. But that's not how it works. Things don't get better on their own. You get better, and then everything else follows. That's the key. If you want your life to change, you have to change first. If you want your future to be different, you have to be different. If you want success, you have to become the kind of person who attracts success. And that doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen without effort. It doesn't happen without a shift in thinking. That's why most people never make it, because they want the change, but they don't want to change. They want the success, but they don't want the struggle. They want the rewards, but they're not willing to pay the price. And that's why they stay stuck. That's why they stay frustrated. That's why they keep wondering why life isn't working the way they thought it would. But once you understand this philosophy, once you commit to it, once you make it the foundation of your life, there's no limit to what you can achieve. Because now you're no longer waiting for things to happen. You're making them happen. You're no longer hoping for success. You're creating it. You're no longer a victim of circumstances. You're the architect of your future. That's the shift. That's the difference. That's the moment everything changes. And once you understand it, once you internalize it, once you live by it, your life will never be the same. Because now you're not just thinking differently, you're living differently, and that's what sparks the flame of success.